The Pura 70 Ultra, Huawei's latest camera-focused flagship phone. Now there's a whole lot of interesting things that Huawei's done with this one, and in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through all of that. Now if this is your first time here, or in case you just can't remember, my name's Ash, you're watching C4E Tech, and welcome to my video on the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra. Let's get started. The unboxing experience, it's pretty nice. We have a textured cover to the box, regular branding all around. Note that this is the 1TB version, which is not sold in a lot of markets. Now once we open up the box, the first thing we see is the Pura 70 Ultra itself. Huawei sent me the green. They also offer this phone in black as well as brown. Personally, the brown, that's the best looking SKU this time. Which one do you think looks the best? Anyways, the 70 Ultra, it feels nice in hand. I like this design. The camera array stands out. It looks unique. We'll get to it in just a little bit. Next, we have this hardshell case with a cool pattern. The wide insert just has the SIM ejector tool here, but a retail unit should also include the quick start guide and warranty information booklets. Then we've got this USB Type-C cable, and finally a 100-watt Huawei supercharger that can take either Type-C or Type-A. Neat. The Pura 70 Ultra houses a 5200 mAh battery, and Huawei seems to have done very well with it. My initial impression so far and all the coverage I've been seeing coming out, they seem to indicate the battery life being very good on this one. Now there is support for wireless charging at up to 80 watts and reverse wireless at up to 20 watts. Impressive. Wired, you can get the Pura 70 Ultra to 50% in a little over 10 minutes, 100% in about 35. The port here, it's USB 3.1, there's support for DisplayPort 1.2. So you can connect this phone to an external display and mirror your screen. In fact, Huawei even offers you a complete desktop mode where the phone becomes your touchpad. It's kind of like Samsung's DeX, it feels well implemented. Now while all that's cool, I'm sure you're here for this, the cameras. So let's talk optics. The primary here is Sony's 1-inch IMX989 sensor. It's paired with a variable aperture lens. It varies from f4 to f1.6. So this is the fastest lens we've seen paired with a 1-inch sensor on any smartphone till date. So obviously we get very strong background blur. There is good subject separation. Now to give you a clearer idea of how the cameras here fare, let's pull in the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And we have the primary under good light. At most times, there's not a whole lot of difference. I mean, technically, I could say the Pura edges ahead on dynamic range in a few places. Guys, it doesn't really matter. The one area where the Pura 70 Ultra not just wins, but completely annihilates pretty much any competition is when it comes to shooting things that are moving. Now guys, you understand how HDR works, right? The camera takes multiple shots at once at different exposures and stitches them together to give you one final image that's got more range than the sensor can natively offer. So Huawei has basically taken this idea and applied it to motion blur. So when you take a picture with this phone, it's actually taking multiple images, one regular and one with a super fast shutter speed, and then uses software magic to stitch them together and remove any motion blur from the image. Now Huawei offers a dedicated snapshot mode for just this. But all these pictures that you're seeing here, they were not taken with the snapshot mode, but just the regular photo mode. And in every instance, every single time, you can see the Pura 70 Ultra outdoes the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, if you've ever taken pictures of kids or pets, I'm sure you know how hard it is to get a good shot that's free of any blur. So the Pura will be amazing in these situations. It would just shine. Now, under low light, well, once upon a time, Huawei used to be industry leader for this. Not anymore, sadly. Now to be fair, the Pura 70 Ultra is a major step up, a major improvement over Huawei phones past, and it even manages to outdo the iPhone 15 Pro Max in some specific situations, especially under fading light, situations where its hardware gives it an edge. But once the sun sets, the light goes away and we are at the mercy of algorithms. Apple is definitely stronger. The Pura does well, sure, but it's not outdoing the iPhone anymore, and at times it even has some very middling results. Similarly, with video, by itself, the 4K 60 footage looks good, it's detailed, it's stable, but when you compare it side by side with footage shot on a 15 Pro Max, it doesn't beat it. In fact, the slight EIS jitter kinda becomes noticeable. So while the Pura 70 Ultra can shoot good videos, it's not iPhone beating good. With ultra wides, there's a 40 megapixel sensor paired with a f2.2 lens, and here it performs on par with the iPhone, slight edge on dynamic range, but for the most part on par. The telephoto though, now this is another area where the Pura 70 Ultra takes the lead. We get a 50 megapixel sensor paired with a 3.5x telephoto lens, a fast lens with a f2.1 aperture, which means it can take in more light. So even under good light, you can see how the noise is much lower on images shot on the Huawei. Like here, see how the texture is just better? Or in this case, notice how Huawei's kept the noise minimal. And of course, with moving subjects, there's no contest. Once again, it's Huawei all the way. Now the icing on the cake is the fact that this telephoto, it has a minimum focus distance of just 5 centimeters. So that plus the way it just freezes images means you get to take pictures like this. Beautiful, right? I mean, I just love these cameras. Huawei's done so damn well. Now for selfies, we've got a 13 megapixel f2.4. It's got a very wide field of view. It's got autofocus and the selfies turned out really nice. This can also shoot 4K 60 footage. And once again, footage very good. Now physically too, this camera array, it's kind of unique. It's got character. It stands out in a crowd. But at the same time, it's also functional. This shape means there's a place for your index finger to rest when you're holding the phone. Something you really can't do with most other phones that have a 1-inch sensor. Now barring this, Huawei's gone for a whole lot of curves on this one. The back, it curves at the edges. The glass covering the display curves on all 4 sides. Even the 8.4mm frame, it's got a slight curve to it. Now the vegan leather back with its unique pattern, it adds to the grip. And this combination of things, it ensures that despite the 226 gram weight, the Pura 70 Ultra feels comfortable to hold in use. Now, it's not all roses. Of course, there are some caveats. For example, while the vegan leather back picks up no fingerprints, the frame is glossy. It picks up fingerprints a lot. Talking about fingerprints, the fingerprint scanner is of the optical variety, which is fine, but I feel it's placed a little too low. And as much as I like the cameras and the way the array is designed, it also means the Pura 70 Ultra is going to wobble when you set it down on a surface and use it. Now, it is also worth mentioning that in order to keep the phone this slim and still use a 1-inch sensor, Huawei has gone for a lens that pops out every time the camera needs to be used. Motorized parts on a phone, now that's something I've always been wary of. But to give Huawei credit, they do have some protocols in place. If it detects quick motion, aka drops, the module automatically retracts. Put pressure on it, it retracts. And despite the moving parts, the Pura 70 Ultra is still IP68 certified. Okay, let's flip things around now, and here we have a 6.8-inch OLED panel that's covered by the much improved Crystal Armor Kunlun glass. This here is a 1.5K panel with a 120Hz refresh. Huawei claims a 2500 nit peak for HDR. In my testing, this panel outputs a conservative 675 nits under manual mode, but goes up to almost 1700 nits under auto, so it's bright enough for outdoor usage. Frankly, this is a very nice display. Coupled with the loud stereo speakers, the 70 Ultra, it's excellent for media consumption. In fact, for day-to-day use, I had no issues with this phone. The user interface felt fast and snappy, but of course the issue here is, well, it's the same one every Huawei flagship since the P30 has faced, one that's beyond Huawei's control, the lack of Google services. Now yes, there are workarounds, but it does definitely hurt user experience. Now performance-wise, this phone is powered by the Kirin 9010 SoC. And guys, here I'm going to do something I've never done in my 12 years on YouTube. I'm going to show you my notes for this video. As you see here, I initially wanted to do a bit where I talked you through the cores and what Huawei has done and how cool it is that they have a 7nm chip that's annihilating Qualcomm's flagship 5nm chip. Now, as cool as it is from a technical point of view, I don't think it really matters to the end consumer. Sure, the 7nm Kirin 9010 gets close to Qualcomm's first gen 4nm. Sure, it's an achievement. I don't disagree. But Qualcomm's at their third gen 4nm now, and the Kirin 9010 just cannot compete with it on horsepower. So long story short, that kind of rules this phone out for people looking at sheer performance numbers. So if you want a camera-focused flagship that can also run games at the highest settings, well then this is not going to be right for you. That said, the Pura 70 Ultra still has so much to offer. So much that it makes me want to ignore all of its shortcomings and just buy it for those amazing cameras. And I'm sure there are going to be some of you who do share that sentiment. And to those I say, wait for the price. Because there is a reason why I've titled this video the best camera phone you aren't gonna buy. Because this one, it's pretty darn expensive. In China, it starts at a whopping 10,000 RMB. In Europe, 1,500 euros. In UAE, though, it's actually quite competitively priced, 5,100 AED. And add to it a 15% discount that you can avail throughout this month by using the code AEC4E15. Price does come down. So anyways, that's pretty much it for the Pura 70 Ultra. What do you guys think about this phone? Let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.